Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're talking about graphing exponential and logarithmic functions. Before we can graph logarithmic functions, you gotta master exponential functions. Before you can master exponential functions, you have to master like the base graphs of your exponentials. Now, what makes something an exponential function? Your variable is up in the exponent. Exponential, exponent, makes it magical. So let's take a look at some of these base graphs that we have here. This is a really common one, 2 to the x power. You'll see that I've set up XY charts for all of my base graphs here. I do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I do that every time. What we're going to do is we're going to plug that in for our x and to figure out what we get for y. Start with our easy one, which is 0. 2 to the 0 power gives us not 0, it gives us 1. And if you have questions about that, there's a video on my channel, so watch that. 2 to the 1 power gives us 2. 2 to the second power gives us 4. Okay, now let's deal with our negatives. So we have y equals 2 to the -1. This does not make it -2. No, no. What this means is you have a negative attitude and you are currently upstairs and your parent, your guardian, your person that you live with is like, get that negative attitude out of here, take that downstairs. And so you take your negative attitude and you bring it downstairs and suddenly it's positive. Yay. But what's left upstairs is a 1. So when you have 2 to the -1 power, you really have 1/2. This applies for -2 as well. If I change this guy to a -2 and this to a 2, now it's downstairs, you get 1/4. And look at this lovely pattern. We have 1, 2, 4, then we have 1, and we have 1/2 and 1/4. Look at that pattern. That's going to be helpful later. Okay, now we're going to talk about 1/2 and how we do this guy. So start again with your 0. You anything to the 0 power, 1, right? Don't say 0. Oh, I die a little bit inside. Oh, okay. 1/2 to the 1 power is going to be 1/2. And then 1/2 to the second power is 1/2 times 1/2. Multiply straight across top, straight across bottom. We get 1/4. All right, now let's talk about those negatives. We have 1/2 to the -1 power. Again, it applies to the top and the bottom. So 1 to the -1, 2 to the -1. Those attitudes need to flip. That guy upstairs is like, negative attitude. We're taking that downstairs and making it positive. That negative attitude downstairs, get upstairs. You've got to change your attitude, and now it's positive. 2 to the 1 power over 2 or over 1 is just 2. Same thing is going to apply with our -2. -2, -2, 2 and 2. That gives us +4 because 1 squared is just 1 over 1. So again, look at that pattern. 1, 2, 4, 1, 1/2, 1/4. That pattern's looking pretty good now. We're going to do 2/3 because I want you to identify that pattern again. Again, start with your easy one. To the 0 power is not 0, 1. 2/3 to the 1 power is 1. 2/3 to the second power is, remember, 2/3 times 2/3, which gives us 4/9. All right, 2/3 to the -1 power. This is the same as saying 2 to the -1 over 3 to the -1. Fix those attitudes. If you're downstairs, go upstairs. If you're upstairs, go downstairs. 3 to the 1 over 2 to the 1. So we get 3 over 2. Let's go ahead and just change those to -2 like this. 2 and 2, and we get 9 over 4. And again, I wanted you to see that pattern. We have, I put a 1 here. Whoops, my bad. 2/3. We have 1, 2/3, 4/9. And then we have 3/2 and 9/4. You start to see that that pattern it's just the reciprocals. That's a good way to identify that. Okay, so those are your base graphs, and that's the most important part of graphing an exponential function. The next part are the rules. So you're probably going to want to pause this video, write down these lovely rules, and I will walk you through them as we go through it. So the first thing first is, here is what we are going to be graphing. Let me grab a marker here. We've got this guy. This is what we're going to be graphing. You have to identify first your base graph, and your base graph is, you find your exponent, or you find your x, and it's up in the exponent because we're doing exponentials. You find your x, whatever that number is attached to, that's your base. So if you'll see that this x is attached to this 2 right here, that's our base graph, 2 to the x power. All right, well, we've been practicing, and we know our base graphs. So 2 to the x power, if I do 0, that's going to be 1. If I do 1, that's going to be 2. If I do 2, that's going to be 4. If I do -1, it is not -2. Again, slowly dying inside. It is, in fact, 1/2. And then 1/4. Bam, you have done your base graph. Now, what is important here is the order. The next thing you want to do when you're dealing with your base graph is look at your x. Whatever's going on to your x, you're going to do it to your x, but twist it, you're going to do the opposite. So see how it says -3? We're actually going to add 3. So I'm going to take this guy, and I used green, so I'm going to say plus 3 to my x. So plus 3, I get 1, I get 2, I get 3, I get 4, I get 5. Bam, I've done my plus 3. Remember, if it's attached to the x, do it to your x, but do the opposite. The second thing we want to do is manipulate our output, and that is this guy right here, or our a. When we're talking about exponential functions, it looks like this, right? And our a is our, just like it is in our quadratic functions, it's like our pattern. It manipulates our output, right? So the second thing we want to do is manipulate our output. Remember, output is the same thing as range, which is the same thing as y. So we're just manipulating our output. This is a -2. We're multiplying our output, aka our y, by -2. I did that in pink, so let's see if I can find my pink. Here we go. We're going to take our y. We're going to multiply it by -2. All right, you may have to do a little side work for you on this. You're going to get some good fractions practice in here. But we get this, we get -1/2. We get -1, -2, -4, -8. Okay, bam, we've manipulated our output. Now, the last thing we want to do is we've already manipulated our x, we do have to manipulate our y. And with our y, you do exactly what it says. Remember, x is opposite, y is the same thing, so 4. So we're going to come over here with our orange, and we're going to say, let's add 4 to our y. So we say plus 4 here, and that gives us 3.5, -3, oh, not -3, +3. What am I doing here? 2, 0, -4. Okay, so now what we have here are these guys. I'm just trying to find whatever markers I haven't used yet. We've got this for our x and this for our y. Okay, whoops, not the 4 though. That was just our manipulation. So what we have for our XY chart is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3.5. And there we go. 3, 2, 0, -4. And I bet you guys are going to make me graph this. So let me grab some graph paper here so you can see. I'm sure most of you already know how to graph on the Cartesian coordinate system. So how about I grab a piece of paper that has not been used? And we will do this guy right here. So we're going to graph this here. Let me draw a graph. I can't draw straight lines, y'all. I've been doing this 15 years, 20 years now. I still can't draw straight lines. I get really impressed when I do. Like, look at that. That was beautiful. Okay, let's look at this. So here's our XY chart, right? We go over 1. We're going to go up 3.5. Over 1, up 3.5. Kablam. We go over 2, up 3. Up, over 2, up 3 right here. We go over 3. We go up. Wait, hold on. Over 2, up 3. I don't know how to count. What is that? I went up 4. That was bad. Over 3, up 2. There we go. Over 4, up 0. Over 5, down -4. So 5, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's make sure I count here. Okay, and what we see is, do you see how it's 3.5? If I were to do anything smaller, so let's say 1, smaller than 1 is 0, right? So if I were to plug 0 into here, we would get, let's do that over here. We got y equals -2, 2, 0, -3, +4. So now what I have is -2 times 2 to the third plus 4 to the -3. My bad. So y equals -2 over, that's going to be, or I should say, let me make that make a little more sense. -2 over 1 times, now this is that negative attitude, got to take it downstairs, 1 over 2 to the third, plus 4. So what I have here is -2 over 8 plus 4. So that's -1/4 plus 4. So that gives us 3 3/4. See how we have 3.5, and now we have 3 3/4. You're going to see, as you see it, you can start to see it's taking shape along here. You can start to plug in numbers if you're really curious to see where it is, but that means that we're going to go over, so we go over 0 and up 1, 2, 3, and 3 3/4. So like right here, right? See, it's hard to measure, but that means that our asymptote is going to be right along here, because we're getting smaller as we're going along. We're going to keep getting smaller with 3 3/4, right? And so we're going to get closer and closer and closer to 4, but we're never going to actually cross 4. So it's just going to keep going like this. So there is our horizontal asymptote. So if you have any questions about how to graph these guys, that's a good start for figuring out your XY chart, to start to kind of form it onto your graph. And then you can go from there and you can plug and chug some of those guys. Part 2 will be the logarithm part of this, because once you've mastered exponentials, there's only one extra step with logarithms, and kablam, you have it, you're done, you're on it. Good work. Cannot wait to hear your success stories. I will see you next time in part 2.